سلام 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 جعلنا السلام.
So I want you to understand that you live in a country that never existed without you. America never existed without Islam. There would be no United States of America without you. So we gotta stop acting like we don't belong here. We need to teach our children that when someone tells you to go back to your country, that they say, my country is Orlando, Florida. My country is Brooklyn, New York. My country is Memphis, Tennessee. Sisters and brothers, our history in this country is deep. If our children knew that, they would stand stronger, they would stand taller, they would defend themselves and their families and their communities and their faith. And this is what we need right now, sisters and brothers. I hear a lot of conversations, and I'm always in these panels and debates, and people talk to me and ask me, Sister Linda, how do we combat Islamophobia? I say to them, you think Islamophobia is something new? Islamophobia is not new, sisters and brothers, but you haven't connected your history, so you think this is something new. I'm gonna take you way back. One of the first people who was very dear to us, who was the first victim of Islamophobia, was our Prophet, may peace be upon him. That's how back we're gonna take it. A man who was trying to send a message of peace and love and compassion through Islam, who had garbage thrown at him, people spit at him, he was assaulted. That, sisters and brothers, was Islamophobia. Maybe they didn't call it Islamophobia at that time, but that's exactly the definition of Islamophobia. You live in a country, sisters and brothers, we always say, I'm a proud American. I'm very proud to be American. But I also acknowledge that I live in a country that didn't have many proud moments. And we, sisters and brothers, need to connect what's happening now to what has happened before and what continues to happen. You live in a country that killed off indigenous people who were living on this land. So don't tell me nothing about Palestine if you don't understand that you live in a country where the same thing that's happening in Palestine happened here on this very land that you live. We went from that to forcing people to come to this country, taking them away, stripping them of their culture, of their families, of their livelihood, of their land, and bringing them to this country, enslaving people. We basically made people property in this country, the United States of America. Then someone thought it was a good idea to create a law to ban certain people from certain parts of the world. We had a law in this country called the Chinese Exclusion Act. So when somebody tells me Donald Trump can't ban anybody, I said, what country do you live in? This is not something that's never happened before, sisters and brothers. After that, we saw people who are fellow Americans who lived with us in our country. To us, they looked like an enemy. They were the Japanese. We rounded them up. We put them in internment camps. This wasn't in Germany, sisters and brothers. This is right here in the United States of America. And I always think to myself, sisters and brothers, I think about this all the time. It keeps me up at night. I want to know what kind of people lived in the United States of America and allowed our fellow Americans, the Japanese, to be interned in camps. I want to know who lived here, who was here at that time. Because I will tell you now, sisters and brothers, if I was alive at that time, if I had to be arrested, beaten, or killed, I would be standing up for my Japanese sisters and brothers. History, sisters and brothers. History is very important context. We cannot live and be whole right now in 2016 without understanding our history. And the reason why I'm giving you a mini history lesson, which I know many of you already know and many of you have studied, is because I want you to understand that when I say we need you right now, This is not an empty call to action. We need you right now, sisters and brothers. Let's get back to addressing Islamophobia. You know, I see a lot of people, they do very important things about how we're going to teach people about Islam. You know, I just met some beautiful brothers today. Da'wah Beads team, right here, Da'wah Beads team. Beautiful, innovative people who, you know, stand on street corners, you know, give out information about Islam and trying to get people to have a conversation with Muslims. And that is beautiful. And I wish more people would do that. For me, there's like another level of da'wah. I hear a lot of people say, Islam is a religion of peace. I believe that, sisters and brothers. I believe that dearly, wholeheartedly. But for me, what's more important than Islam being a religion of peace, because I believe all Abrahamic faiths are religions of peace, is that Islam is a religion of justice. It has always been a religion of justice. Islam is a religion of compassion and love. And there was a black woman poet who passed away recently, may God rest her soul, who said something very important and something that stays with me. It's not important the words that you say. A lot of times we focus too much on the words. We want to write things down and we want to make sure we say the right words. It's not about the right words. It's about how you make people feel. I've had conversations with at least 200 people today. I may not remember what you said to me, but I will remember how you made me feel. How do we make people feel Islam? How do you make people experience Islam if they are non-Muslim? And for me, sisters, it's about the concept of justice. In Islam, justice is not just us. If you believe that justice is just about Muslims, then you are in the wrong religion. 1400 years before the civil rights movement in America, you had your own civil rights activists, your own human rights activists, your own feminists, your own environmental justice activists, your own immigrant rights activists, workers' rights activists, and he was your prophet, Sayyidina Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. You want to talk about the seerah of the prophet, and they tell us let's follow in the seerah of the prophet. Your prophet stood for all marginalized people, all ostracized people, all poor people. He never asked people what faith they were, sisters and brothers. He didn't wait to help you until you converted to Islam. That's not how our prophet operated. So if that's who your prophet was, if your prophet was a human rights activist, if he stood for other people, if he was bold and courageous and defended his faith, why are we not like him? We have our own example. We don't have to look outwards. We love Martin Luther King. I think Malcolm X is my role model, but we can take it back, sisters and brothers. We come from a religion that calls on us to be in the places that need the call to justice. That is the faith that you follow, sisters and brothers. And for me, people see me and they say, Sister Linda, you're Palestinian, you know, you're Arab, you're not black. Why do they say that to me? Because they see me at the forefront of campaigns to reform our criminal justice system. Because they hear me calling for the end to mass incarceration. Because they hear me say we gotta stop allowing young, unarmed black people in our country to be killed on the streets of their communities. Sisters and brothers. And I want you to listen to me very carefully. And I'm talking to the immigrant Muslims, the children of immigrants right now. When you go out into a protest, when a young unarmed black boy or girl is killed by law enforcement, you are not an ally. You are not doing an act of solidarity. Sisters and brothers, 1/3 of your community are African American Muslims. So when you out here on the streets, or when you stand up, or when you post and call a police department or a judge or a call to action demanding justice for a family, of someone who just lost their child, you are doing that for your sisters and brothers first and foremost in your own community. Mass incarceration, police brutality, law enforcement accountability, immigrant rights, workers' rights, these are your issues, sisters and brothers. These are not somebody else's issues. These are our issues as American Muslims. So I say that to say, don't ask me why I'm doing this. I want to know why you're not doing this. That's the question that I have. Sisters and brothers, I'm being serious, and I'm saying these are really serious times, but I will say that I'm very honored and I'm humbled to be and to be working in the Muslim community over the course of the last 16 years. And the reason why I do this work, sisters and brothers, if I didn't have hope, I would be sitting at home right now. I would be working, I'm multilingual, I'm educated, I can talk to a wall. I could be in corporate America making some top dollar right now if I wanted to. But the reason why I do this work is because I have hope. And because I've smelled victory. I've won before. I know what it feels like to win, sisters and brothers, when our community organizes, when we mobilize, when we show power. And that happened last year, when New York City closed the largest public school system in the country in recognition of Muslim holidays. Sisters and brothers, New York City, 1,800 schools, 1.2 million students in the New York City public education system. Who did that? Who ran that campaign? Mothers. Mothers who came in 2006 and said they scheduled tests on Eid, statewide tests. They were outraged. We said to them, what are you going to do about it? They said, I want to organize. My children matter. My children should be recognized and included in the public education system. This campaign, sisters and brothers, was citywide. Black Muslims, South Asians, Arab, converts, Turks, Albanians, you name the kind of Muslim, and they were involved in this campaign. Because you know why? Because we felt worthy. Our children were worthy. Our children mattered. They deserve to be recognized in the largest public school system in the country. And we organized on their behalf. They organized with us. And while the campaign took many years under an authoritarian regime, Mayor Michael Bloomberg, or former Mayor Michael Bloomberg, as soon as the new mayor came in, we went to him and we said, we did this campaign, we did town hall meetings, petitions, you name it, we did it. And on March 4th of 2015, the mayor of New York City announced the closing of the New York City public school system in recognition of Muslim school holidays. We won, sisters and brothers. We know how to win. Winning requires a couple of things. And some of these things are missing sometimes in the Muslim community. Number one, it requires us to be unapologetic about who we are. I wasn't asking New York City for any favors for my children. My children are public school students. I was a public school student. I wasn't asking New York City to do me a favor. I was demanding that New York City recognize our children in the public education system. It wasn't a request. It was what we felt was the responsibility and the obligation of our government with our taxpayer dollars when our children represented 13% of the New York City public school population. And I say this to say that oftentimes in the Muslim community, we focus more on being accepted and not being respected. Sisters and brothers, I don't do this work for a popularity contest. I don't care who likes me. I don't care who attacks me. I don't care who agrees with me. As long as I know that I'm right and that I'm standing on my dignities and my principles and the values, nothing else matters. Malcolm X was one of the most hated men in America. But you know what? He was one of the most respected men in America. So let's flip this around, sisters and brothers. Let's start working towards respect versus being accepted from a segment of a society that will never accept you because they never accepted other people who look like you or were darker than you before you. So for me, sisters and brothers, you know, when I hear people say, you know, I want to go, and I've heard this, by the way, and these things, by the way, excuse me if you are somebody that does this, you just gotta let me, it's all right? I'm having a therapy session right now. When people say to me this really drives me crazy, and I hope that no one in this room does this. They say, you know, I think what we should do, Sister Linda, is there's a Trump rally that's happening like a mile away from here. I know what we're gonna do. We're gonna all go, and we're gonna stand outside, and we're gonna give cupcakes to the Trump supporters because maybe then they're gonna love Muslims. Wallahi al-Azim, they do this, sisters and brothers. Or if it's hot outside, we'll give them cold water to drink. This is da'wah, Sister Linda. Sisters and brothers, if you have the resources and the time to go stand at a Trump rally to try to convince people who are supporting a racist, bigot, fascist, but you don't have time to go down the street to a nice Lutheran church or an Episcopal church that you probably never met before, or maybe there's a black church down the street that you probably never visited either, or maybe there was a rally in your neighborhood because a young Mexican brother was about to be deported and separated from his family, but you didn't have time to go there, but you got time to go at a Trump rally because you're trying to convince some Trump supporters to love Islam. Come on, sisters and brothers, let's, you know, I'm just trying to keep it real here. And I know that's why you bought me, because that's the only thing that I know how to do. They ain't getting hasanat for that, I'm telling you that much. I'm just letting you know. I don't know, I can't, I'm not allowed, but I don't think so. That stuff drives me crazy, sisters and brothers. It really does, it really bothers me. You know why? Because when we do that, it makes us look less, right? It lowers our standards. There are 340 million Americans. I don't know if I'm trying to convince maybe 1 million people that support Donald Trump. There's 339 million other people that I may want to be friends with, build a relationship, go visit their places of worship, visit their community centers, meet them at a local workers' rights rally, or maybe there's a community board meeting, or maybe there's a school board event that I can go to, or maybe there's a PTA meeting where I can meet other parents at my kids' school. There's so many opportunities for us to be building relationships with fellow Americans, but somehow we think that when the guys come with the guns to stand in front of the masjid, we want to go outside and say, let's make peace with them and let's give them water and flowers because then they're going to love Islam. That doesn't work, sisters, but I'm telling you right now. It's not where you put your energy. That is not where we as a Muslim community should be putting our energy. Another thing, sisters and brothers, when somebody asks you this question, we really have to be clear on this question. When a terrorist attack happens that is perpetuated by Muslims or perpetrated by Muslims, the first thing people will say is this: where are the moderate Muslims? Where are all the Muslims to condemn this terrorist attack? Does that happen or not?
Yes.
What do we think we have to do? Scramble. 2 hours. Every imam and their mother and father is in a press conference being like, we are Muslims and we condemn terrorism. Let's talk about what's problematic about that. Number one, the question that is being asked of you is already rooted in bigotry. So the premise of the question is, somehow, some way, you, your community, and your faith somehow supports the killing of innocent people. So there is already an assumption embedded in the question. That's number one. Number two, and you could be on the internet for the next month. I'm challenging you to do this later, not right now. Google, Muslims condemn terrorism, Muslims condemn 9/11, Muslims condemn ISIS, Muslims condemn Al-Qaeda. Wallahi, you'll be on the internet for the next week. Because we already did that. We had a letter that was signed by over 150 world-renowned scholars, literally an open letter to Baghdadi. It doesn't matter, sisters and brothers, because the people that want you to answer that question are not going to ever be convinced of your humanity or the humanity of your faith. So you are trying to convince people who will never be convinced because they have already made up their minds about you. So these resources we waste, for me, we could be putting somewhere else. Because I'm not saying condemning terrorism is a bad thing. Because when I condemn terrorism or violence perpetrated by anyone, I don't do that because I'm Muslim. I do that because I'm a human being. Why we gotta do things because we're Muslim? Nobody else does that. Why are we the only ones that do that? And the other problem that, as part of this whole section, is let's just say people in the room are gonna say, okay, Sister Linda, we don't agree with you on this. We feel like we still gotta do this. Okay, no problem, do that, cool. I'm cool with that. But I also want you to do a press conference for the overwhelming majority of the victims of terror groups who are your Muslim sisters and brothers. When we only condemn terrorism that is perpetrated by Muslims against non-Muslims, you are saying two things. Somehow we are associated, and we care about non-Muslim victims more than we care about Muslims, when our faith upholds the sanctity of all life, Muslim and non-Muslim. So I want you to think, sisters and brothers, about the actions that you take. What message do you send? You think the message is Muslims are good people and we condemn terrorism, but what you're actually doing is you are continuing a very problematic frame that we've been fit in as a community. And me personally, sisters and brothers, I'm not trying to be in that frame. I'll give you one more example. Do people remember the Charlie Hebdo attacks? Yeah. I went on national television, and then all the Amos started calling me. And they were really shook. And this is why. I went on national television and I said this. I think the attacks that happened in Charlie Hebdo were horrific. That these innocent people deserve to live. And we are sad and shocked. And that's it. What I didn't say was just we Charlie. I'm not Charlie. I'm not going to say just we Charlie. And when they asked me why I wouldn't say that, I said because Charlie Hebdo, the publication, is racist, vilifies my religion, it demonizes my prophet, and I will not call myself a racist and a bigot and an Islamophobe. And the uncles were like, but sister, no. I said, look, brothers, I said, when you go on national television, you say what you need to say. This is what I'm going to say, because the truth, sisters and brothers, is what we need to start telling. And we have to stop worrying about how everybody else feels and how uncomfortable we make people feel, because when people are uncomfortable, that is on them, not on you. Right. If the truth makes people uncomfortable, that's for them to sit with, not for you. Your job as a Muslim is to say the truth and nothing but the truth. Because when your day comes and God says to you, why were you either over-exaggerating or changing the words around? Those people you were trying to make comfortable aren't going to be there to help support you. So think about what you do, for who you do, and why you do what you do. So I say all this to say that we are worthy, sisters and brothers. That we are enough. We have nothing to apologize for. We have nothing to prove to anybody. We are fabulous and wonderful just the way we are. And people say this, I will say this to you, sisters and brothers. People say Islamophobe. I actually studied Islamophobes. We got a lot to learn from them, believe it or not. What's interesting about the Islamophobes is they're not as smart as you think they are. So for example, when an Islamophobe wants to attack a masjid, right? Ain't nobody online trying to figure out what madhab that mosque is or where that imam came from. When they attack a Muslim sister on the street or shoot bullets at her car, they don't know if she's Shia or Sunni. They don't know if she's from Pakistan. They just know she's wearing a hijab. So let me get this straight. If the Islamophobes are treating us like we're one community, why are we not acting like we're one community? Sisters and brothers, right now we have nothing, no one but each other. Never expect anyone outside of our community to do for us if you are not doing for us, if we are not doing for us, if we are not doing for our young people. Don't put your hopes in anybody, in government, in other people, in any entity, in any elected officials. At the end of the day, sisters and brothers, we got to do for us. And the time to do for us is right now. On Tuesday, in Florida, is Super Tuesday, or Super Tuesday number 2. I don't want to hear about any Muslim that wants to sit here with privilege and tell me I don't want to participate. When you have, first and foremost, ancestors in this country who died for your right to vote, and then on top of that, you have Muslim sisters and brothers in places like Syria, in places like Yemen, in countries all over the world who are willing to stand up to snipers and dictatorships for the right for free democracy and election, and you're sitting here in the United States of America with that right, and you want to sit back and complain about how you want to participate. Our community, sisters and brothers, has to get off the complaints counter and get on the claims counter. Enough is enough for our community. We got to challenge the narrative. And the reason why I'm here today, sisters and brothers, is because MWO is challenging the narrative. They are defeating and defying every single stereotype that we have about our community. Strong, articulate women empowering their communities. Women who are at the forefront of making you look good in the American Muslim community to you other communities outside of our community. Women who sacrifice time with their families, careers, children, so they can be the representation of what true Islam is and what we need to be conveying and demonstrating to our sisters and brothers in our society. This, sisters and brothers, is MWO doing this on your behalf. You don't even got to be there, even though you should be there. They are doing this for you. I hear about the work of MWO all the way in New York City. The work that's happening here, sisters, the work with refugees, people who have experienced torture, people who have seen things that we will never experience living in this country, were welcomed here in Orlando. They were loved, sisters and brothers. They were given hope. MWO was that hope. This is what our faith teaches us to do. They teach us to welcome the immigrants, welcome the refugees, be their families, give them hope and solace and patience. And that is what MWO is doing here. When they are out on Thanksgiving, when they are out on Eid al-Adha, when they see women in hijab, women not in hijab that are saying they are Muslim, when they see their children who are creating care packages and saying to people, this is for you. They don't have to tell you, these are the 5 pillars of Islam. I don't have to sit you down and tell you, this is how I pray, or in Ramadan I fast 30. They don't have to tell you any of that. Because I will guarantee you that a non-Muslim who experiences the love and the compassion and justice of MWO will never, ever see a Muslim sister in the street and look at her in a different way. They will remember the experience of love and service that they experienced with the women of MWO. I ask you today, sisters and brothers, and I will say this, I know the status of a community, I know the strength of a community, I know the success of a community by the way it elevates its woman. So if I come to a community and I see sisters doing their thing and I know this imam is supporting them and that imam is supporting them and these other organizations are supporting them, and I come into a room that looks like this, I'm going to leave here and say, MashaAllah, Orlando. A community that needs to be emulated in every corner of this country. When you have a strong MWO chapter, when we can say that one of the strongest Muslim women's organizations is in Orlando, not only do I think that sets a great precedent for the rest of the country, not only are you setting an example for the young women in this room, the college students who are up here, who are going to say, I live in a community where my voice matters. I live in a community with men and women who support me, men and women who encourage and motivate me, who recognize me, who say, I see you, I see your potential. This, sisters and brothers, is the biggest gift, the biggest teaching moment that you can give to the rest of the country, because believe it or not, there are not that many communities in this country that are like you. There aren't many Muslim women organizations in this country. The positions that I have, sisters and brothers, believe it or not, I fought for where I am today. I sat in all men meetings. I've been to masajid with only men on boards. I've been told I'm too loud. I've been asked about where is my humility. Did you ever hear? I'm gonna ask Brother Imam over here. Did anybody ever ask you where your humility is, brother? But subhanAllah, when people see women who are active, who are outspoken, who are out at the forefront of their communities, we want to ask them about their humility. My message today, before I leave you this stage, and I say this to the young women in the room. Humility is a very important virtue for us as Muslims, but also for us as human beings. But humility doesn't mean for you to be silenced. Humility doesn't mean for you to do work and someone else takes the credit for the work that you do. Let's be clear about what humility is. Humility is knowing that the reason why you can do what you do is because you stand on the shoulders of people before you. That is humility. Humility is understanding why you do what you do. We don't do this for us, sisters and brothers. MWO ain't raking in the dough doing this work. We do this because, number one, we believe that our faith teaches us to do this. We do this because we are shattering more glass ceilings so young Muslim women after us don't have to shatter more glass ceilings. We do this so young women in our community don't have to look outside of the Muslim community for role models. We got our own role models in this community. Let's stop pointing outside of our community. Let's start pointing inside our community. Your role models in this community are the women of MWO. And I want to say for the fathers of the women of MWO, for the husbands, the fiancés, the sons, I salute you. Because empowered women need brothers behind them, pushing them forward, and telling them what you're doing is the right thing to do and that we got your back. So I salute the men who chose tonight to be here in this room, because what you are telling me is you are reminding me of our prophet, may peace be upon him, that you say here that women are equal, that we are just as valuable, and that our Allah loves us just as much as he loves the men in our community, and that you are saying here today that our community is a progressive community. And I don't mean that in the progressive that you hear in the Western society. I don't mean that progressive, because I'm actually not that kind of progressive. I mean the progressive that our faith already is, the moderate that our faith already is. So I thank you, Orlando, for having me here today, for allowing me to speak my truth, for allowing me to share myself and my truth with you. I salute the women in this room. I want to say to the MWO women that you are leaving me full, that I'm going to go tomorrow to Boston. I'm going to be in Ohio. This is the partisan part of my speech tonight. MWO is a non-profit 501c3 organization, but I am standing here today as a non-profit person. I will be this week stumping for Bernie Sanders. And I will just end by saying this, sisters and brothers. When I said that I know what it feels like to win, Michigan showed you the power of the Muslim American vote. And I want to just defeat one argument that I'm hearing and I heard from somebody in this room. Don't tell me about pragmatism and about let's be realistic. We sisters and brothers, I don't care. I mean, I don't want Donald Trump to be our president, that's for sure, or Ted Cruz, or anybody on that side. But, that's my homie. That's the guy. Me and him. That's the guy. Me and him. No, what I'm trying to say to you, sisters and brothers, is we have an opportunity to send a message to elected officials, to candidates across the country, never to underestimate the power of our community. When a man like Bernie Sanders was down 20% in a state like Michigan, and your Muslim sisters and brothers came to the polls and said, "Don't ignore us. We are here and we are powerful." We can send a message in Florida where Bernie Sanders is losing pretty badly. And you can send that message loud and clear, sisters and brothers, that we are here, that we are participating, and that we as American Muslims are ready to put the first Jewish American president in the White House. And that's...
There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love. And this place could be much brighter than tomorrow. And if you really try, you'll find there's no need to cry. In this place, you'll feel there's no hurt or sorrow. There are ways to get there. If you care enough for the living, make a little space to make a better place. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me.